a business, as Nelson Nash, our mentor, would say, someone's going to invest in that business and not anticipate a profit for 5 to 7 years. Because he said the number one rule in infinite banking, the first rule of infinite banking, Stallion, is what?
This podcast is for informational purposes only and does not constitute financial, legal, or investment advice. Please consult a professional advisor before making decisions based on what you hear on this show.
Welcome in, everybody, to the conversation where Joey and I are going to break down what is the best way to create financial freedom. Now, you're going to be like, wait a second. You guys have already defined financial freedom was when passive income exceeds monthly expenses. And for the last 4 years, 5 years, Stallion, we've been sharing our personal passive income report. This month, we're going to show over $50,000 a month again in passive income. But yet we still have a slight disagreement of maybe the best way or the only way, I don't know, however you want to say that, to be able to accomplish this feat. So if you're interested in how to build passive income, if you want to see what we're actually doing and try to figure out, is that for you? Is there options you can learn from it? This is going to be a podcast for you. But before I go any deeper, let me introduce my partner, the Italian Stallion, Mr. Joey Murray. Stallion, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Russ. And man, this is going to be a friendly debate. Let me just go ahead and set the stage. Like, there's going to be no, bloody noses, gnashing of teeth at this point. Because here's the reality. Passive income greater than monthly expenses is the goal. How we get there, we want to equip you with both sides of the argument so that you can make the best choice for you and your family. So Let's dive into this, man.
So here's the debate. We're going to set this up, and then, Stallion, I want you to share the passive income report for October of 2025. We need to get that out there and talk through a little bit of highlights from there. So we made some new investments, and we're going to talk a little bit about the why. But the meat of this conversation today revolves around monthly cash flow versus doing deals that may only pay out every 3 to 5 years. And here's the idea that comes from that. One, do I want monthly passive income, and do I need monthly passive income every single month? And if so, maybe you're going to align with what Joey says. If you've been building that and you look and you see that there's an opportunity to get involved in certain deals, but maybe they don't pay out every single year, right? Because they're building up the business, and then they're going to have maybe more exit-friendly dollars every 3 to 5 years. And you're trying to see, well, does that play into my model? I'm going to talk about that. I think there's a little bit of both. Joey may be on the side of only one. We'll just see if I can break him down a little bit. But before we get to that, Stallion, please bring up our passive income report. Let's go through what made the $50,000 a month in October. What were some highlights from it? What's some points that we need to maybe dig into a little deeper? How many summers do you have left with your kids? 10, maybe less?
And are you spending them together, or are you still stuck in the office while time slips by?
You want freedom. That's not the problem. The problem is you don't have a system that buys back your time. Without it, 3 years from now, your kids will be older, and they won't care that your business was more successful. They'll remember you weren't there.
That's why we built the Passive Income Operating System, the plan we use to create over $50,000 a month in passive income. The system isn't free, but the training that shows you how it works is, and it's under an hour.
Go to wealthwithoutwallstreet.com/PIOS. Take the first step to buying back your time now.
Yeah. So as you guys always hear from us every single month, we currently have about 20 active income streams that we have created over these last 5 years. The one that always stands out to me is our land business. And you can see in the month of October, our net income on our term sales, that's the amount of land that was sold on owner finance notes that are being paid to us monthly. The net income on that was $25,240. Now, this particular month, we had 2 cash sales that were a chunky money type of opportunity. So in light of our debate, Russ, we got both sides of the coin just in our land business. And that was a net of $2,065.
Which I would say there's been times where the chunky money where we bought a piece of land for $5,000 and we didn't sell it for a year or two. And then all of a sudden we get this note from our operators. They're like, hey guys, just heads up. We were able to do a cash sale on one of your properties and it's 4X what we paid for it. And I've never heard you complain about that, by the way. So I'm just notating a little bit like, hey, I love every single month seeing that passive income from the land business. It has been steady. It's continued to grow, right? Like all of those things are friendly things to my ears. And it, to me, only opens me up to say, all right, well, let's do more of that. And also, maybe does this give me the option to go do other things? Because we know that we have investor DNA. And if you don't know what investor DNA is, you can go. We actually have an ebook written on this very subject matter. You can go to Wealth Without Wall Street /resources or /investor DNA, and you can learn about what that is. But each one of us sees the world from a different perspective. My world is a little bit like shiny object, right? Like I get excited. I hear a new idea. I want to follow that idea. Doesn't mean everybody else should follow it. They call me the idea guy, not the good or bad idea, but just idea guy. And
That's right.
I do get a little bored with the monotonous, methodical, replicatable passive income, right? Like I need to throw a little element of surprise in there every once in a while, Sty.
That's right. Now, before we move on, I want to tell you, if you guys have wanted to know more about our land business in particular, I want to invite you to our free training. If you go to wealthwithoutwallstreet.com/PIOS, we break down our overall passive income operating system, but within it, we actually dissect our land business and show you the actual returns, both internal and then with our infinite banking system, what that actually turns into. And I think you'll be surprised to understand exactly how it works. And you'll see why we love this so much. So I just want to make sure you have that wealthwithoutwallstreet.com/PIOS.
Good point. And by the way, we are doubling down in there. We just last month we added an extra $200,000 into that business. I look forward to seeing these numbers significantly increase as a result, right? Because right now it's really what the revenue that's coming from is reflective of the 500,000 we put in before, but the extra 200,000, I'm excited to see how that accelerates growth, and we'll continue to do those investments. Looking down this list a little bit further, Stallion, what are some other elements that stand out to you?
Well, I want to point out something that this is one of those things that I think is kind of, again, a little bit on both sides of this argument. So I want to point out those things. Our Wake Up in Birmingham short-term rental business, we originally bought into that idea based on cash flow. We did not buy it for equity purposes because we were actually renting these units. This is an arbitrage play. And to a certain degree, man, we're thrilled. We made hundreds of thousands of dollars in passive cash flow on a monthly payout type of basis. And then what we did from there is we actually sold the business, which was an asset, and it has now continued to pay us out every single month for over 2 years. We have a 3-year note with our operator who's the purchaser is paying us out monthly. And this month in particular was $12,000 across the 3 entities that own that business. And man, I'll tell you, I'm not upset with it. You know, it had a mostly cash flow focus, but it also had this asset at the end that we could then also monetize into a monthly payout. So what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I'm going to throw this out there. There was a reason we got out of that business when we did, though.
Okay.
What was it? What was the reason?
Well, because we didn't own the assets.
Well, but yes, we didn't own the assets, but what was the major reason that we got out of the business when we did?
Well, I think there was a lot of factors. One of those being the fact that short-term rentals were being attacked from, the municipalities.
Which resulted in what? Which was resulting in what?
In my opinion, it was volatility.
Volatility in specific, what part of it? I'm just wanting everybody learns from this. So
in the cash flow.
Well, cash flow, but cash flow was the symptom. The problem was occupancy.
Yeah.
We had the way we built the business, as you said, was under rental arbitrage where we didn't own any of the units. The majority of the units that we had over 25 units. The majority of the units we had were 1 bedrooms.
Yeah, that's true.
Right. So we were very limited in the way that we were set up. So we knew in order to make an adjustment, at least in our eyes, trying to predict the future, which our crystal balls have not worked perfectly, right? Lots of looking back and going, oh, we should have done that, right? Like that would have been good. but also when we were at that point, we were looking into the future. We said, hey, where we are, where we believe the market's going, is that one bedrooms are not the world, right? But it was going to require a humongous overhaul. And we didn't believe that that was what we wanted to partake in. And so we moved out of that space. But had we stayed, we would have went and bought 3 and 4 bedroom homes. We probably would have moved longer on the scale from short-term to almost midterm rental, right? To be able to even out some of the occupancy volatility, which then would have adjusted cash flows. We were riding high months and low months because we were literally 1 bedroom units. And that is a seasonal aspect for the people we were dealing with, as compared to being able to go and acquire families who are being displaced for one reason or another into a unit that may stay there for 90 days to 12 months.
Right.
So I think that that's a point. And had we done that, or we would have had cash flow, but also Stallion, we would have had an equity appreciation. Imagine if we would have been buying 3 and 4 bedroom homes in 2020 and 2021, when we were growing that business, when home prices were relatively cheap in relationship to where they are today. Would you be okay if we were starting to sell some of those properties off and bringing in some chunky equity money? Would you have been okay with that?
Yeah, absolutely. But here's the comparison. This is where we have to go back and forth on this, guys. And we didn't do the math ahead of time, so we're going to have to take this offline. But you can see here, what did we invest over the course of those few years that we had the short-term rental business? It was roughly 350. I'm just doing
364, bottom right there in your
Excel 364. Sorry, I'm not an Excel whiz, as you know. 364. So the real comparison to this, Russ, is to say, okay, if we had taken 364, we had bought properties, bought furniture, how many would we have ended up with? And what was a good estimate of what that cash flow would have been? And then we could have then said, okay, over the course of 5 years, what would be the return if we didn't sell them? Maybe we refinanced out the original cash. I don't know what, we'd have to compare both sides of this. But I definitely know we wouldn't be at 27 units, which is what we were using this rental arbitrage option.
I mean, again, it's easy to pick it apart now because we were, it's hindsight, right? We would have never anticipated the real estate market to appreciate at the rate that it did, right? Like there was nothing that you could look in the past and say it's going to do that. It easily could have folded. I mean, nobody knows what it would have done, and every market was different. But I do think that that was an area where I would have loved if we would have. We knew that that was where, if we were going to stay in it, that's what we needed to do. We decided to pivot. It moved out of there. We're going to come back to the argument of monthly cash flow versus chunky money. But I think that that's an interesting space. Stanley, we just made another investment last month into the assisted living space. Another $200,000 was deployed into that. What is exciting to you about the senior living, assisted living economy right now?
Well, I'll tell you, the thing that gets me the most excited about it is you always want to buy at the dip, right? When it comes to any sort of real estate center deal, you want to buy not at the very bottom, but on the way up as it relates to the market. And what we have learned over the past year or two is that the assisted living space got hammered during COVID. Many people were not able to enter into the assisted living space because of fear and because of regulations and all this stuff around COVID. People were dying. It was creating occupancy issues in the space. And subsequently, a lot of those places have been devalued, right?
A lot of negative reputation, right?
Correct.
Like the way things were handled and some people's eyes was not very good. And so there's been a lack of people entering that space at the rate that they were before.
Right. However, the demand has continued to rise in terms of just the overall need for people in that boomer kind of
silver wave is what they call it, right?
The silver wave. It's coming. It's already here. And so the operators that we've been interviewing in this space have proven history in the space but they've also found these deals at, 66% of what the true market value is on a regular basis. This is not a like, oh, one-off, one deal here. We're seeing it actually in the space very consistently. And so what it means for investors is, one, there's actually immediate cash flow in many of these deals because the occupancy has been continuing to rise, but also the equity play over time. So again, we're bringing it back to this argument, Russ. It's actually a both and in this particular deal. But the people we're talking to is they're saying, man, this is less about equity. It's more about cash flow in their minds, because there is going to be equity down the road. But the bigger thing is being able to refinance the debt out is becoming very, very easy. And we can dive into that, but you probably want to check out our interview on the subject. I'm not sure if it's come out yet. It should be coming out soon, but this is a very interesting space, to say the least, for me.
All right. Let's set the stage for the debate and the discussion around monthly passive income versus, maybe rollover returns, chunky money. There's lots of different ways you can look at this. There's a discussion around which one should I do? And I'm going to start out saying I want both. I don't believe that there's one. Is it okay to say that you only want one and it's the monthly passive income? Is that fair? Like, that's your current stance before I potentially enter some other ideas into your mind?
No, that is not the case.
Oh, really?
I would say I am 80% cash flow today, but I am very interested in deals that also give me an equity upside. It's just that they're harder to find.
Which,
right? If you have reliable monthly cash flow.
What if there's no monthly cash flow, Stag? I know we have certain deals that pay monthly cash flow, but really I won't even say the large majority, a portion of the return will happen on an exit.
No, I am not interested in that.
Okay, good. So, going back to my original argument, it's fair to say that you want monthly cash flow or nothing.
Yes.
Okay, good. All right, that's where we're going to start at this, right? So let's define your argument. Tell me why you believe it to be the best, and then I'll do mine, and then we'll kind of go back and forth with each other.
Okay. I'm gonna give you a couple of sayings, and then I'm also going to give you a couple things that will back it up.
Okay, what he just said is he's about to read some ideas he came up with on ChatGPT. So let's hear it.
No, at the end of the day, when we talk about financial freedom, you don't have confidence to leave your 9 to 5 based on 3 to 5 years from now and hoping that the equity will then turn into cash flow at that point. That's my stance, is that I want a reliable way to say, yes, my monthly expenses are covered so that I can go ahead and turn in my notice, so that I can sell my business and move on with confidence that everything's going to be okay. So that is a buying back of your time now, not someday. Okay. And I'll give you this as an example. We were talking to somebody who actually was a member of our community. He actually was talking to us about our fund as a potential way to create monthly cash flow. And I said, well, why is that important to you? And Russ, I don't know if you remember the conversation, but he said, well, I've got these other deals that are going to pay out in the future. And I don't know what they're going to be. I know that I'm excited about them, but in the meantime, I don't have anything to show for it. I don't have anything coming in monthly. And so I don't really know how to keep score. That is the thing that I'm holding on to. Is like, man, super important. We got to keep score differently than what Wall Street has always told us, is to accumulate or to look to the future and buy the future. I want to buy the present.
All right, let me jump in here for a second. So what I am saying on the opposite side of this, right? Again, I'm not against monthly passive income. I love it. I'm grateful that we've built it. Where I'm going, and my argument's going to come from, is there are deals out there that we need to, or we can invest in, that won't produce a monthly passive income always. Some of them do, but the ones that I'm specifically talking about is there maybe, let's just use a good friend of ours, Scott Myers, just got back from his event down in St. Augustine, Florida. Got to hear, all the stories of people that they have taught over the years, of the deals they're doing, the investments they're making, and buying self-storage units. Most of them, they're buying existing units and then they're improving them. A few of them are doing ground up development type deals. And right, like again, not all deals work out, right? There's risk in everything. But one of the things that people have said to us that our gift is that, man, you guys have a great gift in finding businesses and turning them into passive income streams. True or false? That's been a statement that we've heard.
Yes, absolutely.
Or taking passive income streams and turning them into business, vice versa. How much passive income do you have right now? And if in 5 years you're still at the same point, what's that going to cost you? Maybe more time at a job you hate, or missing moments with your family?
See, most people don't move because they don't know what to do. So they just keep doing the exact same thing.
That's why we built the Passive Income Lab. It's a 12-week program where you are guaranteed your first $500 a month in passive income.
But here's the catch. It's not open to everyone. We only let in 10 people at a time.
So the real question is, will you be one of them? Apply now at choosepassiveincome.com. There was nothing worse than walking into class when you're in school and the teacher saying, "Pop quiz day." Why? Because you were unprepared. Are you unprepared, though, for financial freedom?
Don't be. Find out how close you are by taking our 30-second quiz at wealthwithoutwallstreet.com/quiz.
And we're like, yeah, I mean, like we're very business minded. That's the way we think. We think marketing, we think management, we think operations, right? Like all of that is in alignment to what we do. So the way we built the Wake Up in Birmingham, the short-term rental business, we saw the opportunity. We didn't want to do it, quote unquote, passively, meaning like we weren't going to just find someone who was already doing it. No, we went and created the business. We created the logo. We created the website. We hired an operator. We got the operator training. Like we met with him on a regular basis, did marketing, management, started thinking about how do we scale all the stuff. It was a very business oriented discussion. Well, most of the people that's in the self-storage space, it's a business, right? That is an actual business. I know that there's people who invest in it passively in a limited partnership way. But what excites me as my investor DNA is hands-on, involved. Passive investments usually don't excite me that much because I don't know how to improve them. I can't give my ideas for better or for worse. They don't care. They just double barrel me and tell me to hit the road, right? So I'm sitting there hearing these self-storage ideas and I'm hearing about what they're doing, but I'm also seeing that they're usually reinvesting the cash flow that is coming in to, put a new lot, like to pave the lot or put security systems in or buy the ground next to them and start building new, right? Improving the facility, right? Like going out and marketing to the world. Well, all of that requires money. And we know that you can't eat all of your profits, right? A business, as Nelson Nash, our mentor, would say, someone's going to invest in that business and not anticipate a profit for 5 to 7 years. Because he said the number one rule in infinite banking, the first rule of infinite banking, Stallion, is what?
Think long range.
Think long range, right? And he was a Forester, so he was teaching people in their 50s and 60s to think 50 years down the road, long after they were going to be there. And so when I see businesses, I understand that. It makes total sense to me. Now, a business that I'm involved in, that I can influence the outcome, risk goes up or risk goes down when I can influence the outcome, when I can be involved in it, the process.
What kind of business are we talking about?
Any business, any way that the closer I can get involved in it,
the risk goes down.
Risk goes down, right? So when I think of investments and looking for chunky money deals, I'm looking for deals that I can get involved in that are business oriented. And I see the alignment of investing in certain things where the reinvestment of those dollars will produce an outcome maybe longer than 1 month, quarterly, or even for you, Joey, too long, annually, but maybe 2 or 3 years down the road. So that's my argument. That's where we're going to go. All right. So let's line this up. What's the first point? Is it just the, I want to have monthly income so I have time freedom and I know what it is today? Is that the first thing you want to go at me with, or what do you want to talking. I'm gonna turn the
Well,
floor over to you for just a second.
well, I feel like I've already made that point. What else you want to hear?
Well, I mean, what I would say is that that's true, but if someone would have thought about that process 3 to 5 years ago, could they have not also created income that happens monthly or annually? Right?
Well,
Like when we first
so
started
break
this,
that down. Break that down because I know what you mean by that, but I don't think if someone's hearing you say, "Hey, you guys have been talking about passive income greater than monthly expenses," and now Russ, you're talking about, "Hey, I could double my money potentially in 5 years." Or something on these more chunky equity type deals, how does that actually turn into financial freedom? So break that down.
well, our buddy Sharon Srivatsa has shared the double strategy, right?
Right.
Where we talked about making an investment and every, 4 to 5 years, the investment's doubling, right? At what is that, like a 16 to 17% return.
Right.
I think my math is right. You can do the rule of 72. 72 divided the number of years gives you the result there. So I think 5 years, roughly whatever that is, 17%. So the idea is if I invested in a project and for simplicity, let's just say it's self-storage because that's where I was at recently. So that's on my mind. And I'm investing all my money in this facility. I'm getting it up to code. Then I'm, growing the occupancy in it. I'm expanding it, all of these things. And then I'm going to turn it over and I'm going to sell it to one of these big, huge management groups out there, right? The big, huge private equity groups, they're coming and buying as many of these as possible. But, they don't really want to get one started. They want to buy it when it's ready. And they're willing to pay a premium, right? Because they have all this money they got to deploy and get it work. So you get no cash flow for, say, 3 to 5 years. And then when you sell it, you get back all the money, right? The monthly cash flows that you would have been receiving plus them. And so in that example, let's just pretend I put 100 grand in, and in 5 years, I pulled out 200 grand, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, 200 grand divided by 12, Joey, is what?
I don't know, 16,000 or something like that.
Okay, so let's just pretend that's my monthly passive income, 16 grand. Now, what if 5 years ago, I put 100 grand into a deal that's going to create 200 grand or in a monthly amount, 16 grand a month, but starting in the first month of year 6, right? And then year 2, I did the same thing. I did it year 3, year 4, year 5. If I did it every single year, would I create a passive income stream of 200 grand and or 16,000 a month?
Okay, let me make sure I'm following you here. You put 100 grand in year 1.
I put 100 grand in year 2, 3, 4, and 5, right?
Okay.
And then starting year 6, if that 100 grand had doubled the first 100 grand year 1, that's 200 grand divided by 12, 16 grand, what you said, right?
But now there's no money to reinvest after that based on that model.
My point is that I could keep investing, but I'm playing the simple part of this out. In year 6, that first 100 grand has now produced 16K of monthly passive income.
For 1 year.
For 1 year. Year 2 created 16,000 a month in passive income for year 7, so forth and so on, right? Like if I were continuing to invest, it's creating an income stream.
For 5 years.
Yeah. And this is not a new idea, right? Like I think Robert Allen talked about this in one of his books about how if you bought an investment rental property every single year, starting, in year 11, you could take out 100 grand from that rental property through appreciation. And that could be your passive income, right? And if you bought a property every single year, then starting year 11 and so forth and so on, you could take out 100 grand every single year into the future. The idea is not new. This is an old idea. My thought is that there opportunities for us to participate in certain deals like this. And I'm going to use Scott as an example. He's spoken at so many different events that we've been a part of. He was in our mastermind for a number of years. We were in other masterminds with him. We've gone to his mastermind. And he's like, guys, I've just got to tell you, you're missing out on big dollars. He's like, as a experienced operator, I have no interest in constantly paying out monthly passive income because those are dollars I can't invest in new deals or I can't improve my own deal. If I was paying you guys out, I would ultimately perform at a worse level. And he challenged us on that to say, I think you're thinking too short-sighted on all occasions. That's my stance. That's my argument. That's what I'm sticking to. You give me what you got.
Well, I'll just say the whole idea that, man, in 5 years, you now have created 200,000 that you can turn into cash flow is still short-sighted because it's only a 5-year window that you've created passive income. I'm thinking about it in terms of if I'm going to a deal and I'm looking for, is it profitable today? It forces me to underwrite the deal much more scrupulously. You write that word down, Russ. It's hard to say. I say it on your behalf. Okay. But if you start looking at a business plan and the whole thing is based on the variables that lead to 5 years from now, there are way too many variables that have to go into that. Versus if I have a current cash flowing asset, I can look at the current books and I can say, man, this is how this thing is going to cash flow today. And then there's levers that could be tweaked, that could be improved over the next 2 to 5 years that could then lead to a potential refinance or a potential expansion or whatever the case may be. But you're actually taking something that is a known and improving it versus this is where we hope that we can do because we have this, and this in progress of happening. And I'm just going to tell you from experience, some of the deals that were based off of that we've gotten involved in have not panned out according to what we think we can do over the next several years. Some of them have ceased cash flow, right? They started with cash flow and then they ceased because the thing.
Are you starting to make my point for me now?
What? No, because that one I didn't get to dig in very deeply. But the ones that were based off of equity, I'm just telling you, the pro formas have not matched up. And to be honest, I think it just enters in way too much risk that the future will yield to the double.
Okay, I just want to push back on. Let's push back on this just for a second, right? Okay, there are lots of deals that we have seen on all fronts that have not performed as they said they would. Some have overperformed, some has underperformed. Virtually zero have performed exactly the way he said it would do. Right? Like that's the reason why those pieces of paper are usually useless because so many factors will add in. Now, again, this is not self-serving, but Joey, we have a debt fund, right? There's 2 ways to get in it. You have to be an accredited investor, depending on how much money you're putting in, and depending on what sort of time frame of liquidity you want, you're going to get return A or return B.
Correct.
There's only 2 outcomes. It will perform exactly as we said, or it will fail, right? Like it's the only 2 options, right? Like there is no equity opportunity, whatever. Like we're either going to pay it or the company folds and you get nothing. Now,
that's right.
I think the latter is as close to zero as it can get, but we know they can't say that. But
so you're saying there's less variables. Is that what you're saying?
For that option, it is that. But I mean, we've invested in deals for cash flow that have become Ponzi schemes. We've invested in deals for cash flow that quit paying us, right? I mean, just because one is paying you does not make it legit.
That is fair.
I believe that unfortunately, sometimes we get so caught up in the cash flow that we get blinded, right? I think you've even brought this point up to me before of like, we shouldn't allow the tax tail to wag the investment dog, meaning we shouldn't just be looking for tax benefits in our investments.
That's
because
right.
Unfortunately, sometimes we've chased the tax opportunity and miss out on a really good deal or followed a bad deal.
That's right.
So I will say the opposite is true. I can't predict whether or not a deal is going to be profitable in 3 to 5 years, right? I agree on that. Like there has to be mitigating factors. I have to become a better investor. I think that there's no substitute for you doing due diligence. There's no substitute for you finding out the investment opportunities you have and also to determining what your risk level is. I was talking to a guy the other day. He's getting ready to sell his business in like 2 weeks. It's for like $25 million. And we had a discussion about like at this point in your life, man, because his lifestyle is not that high. I was like, this point in your life, it really comes down to, Warren Buffett's rule number 1 is don't lose money. And rule number 2 is refer back to rule number 1. Like your objective should not be to take risk with that money. Like the biggest risk you could take would be losing the money.
Right.
But oftentimes as people are growing it and they have incomes, especially incomes that are high, there's a little bit of opportunity to take some risk, man. There's opportunity to swing. Don't swing for the fences and lose all your money. That's why we have 20 something deals on there. And there's at least 20 more deals that are no longer on there that we've invested in that either have paid off, have gone belly up. We don't even want to tell you about them. Like there's so many deals, right? Like, but the point is that we've not invested all our money in any one deal.
Right. Now but you just made a great point for my argument, Russ. If you look at our passive income report, how many of those things have come because we had monthly cash flow? Let me just point this out. There have been multiple deals that we've gotten involved with that we would have never been able to get involved with if we had put all of our money into long-term equity chunky deals. Because the cash flow is coming back in, it gives us optionality, it gives us the ability to reinvest, to build further reserves. It gives us the ability to take some of these early wins and potentially double down, potentially get into other things that help us to even diversify some of these income streams. And I'll make the other point. In over 5 years, how many of the things that we've put money into that were even with the intent of big equity upsides have actually helped us to improve our passive income? I'll wait.
Well,
like the big chunks haven't come back. Not yet.
Well, we haven't invested for big chunks either, have we?
There's been a handful of them that were with that mostly intent. And
specifically, which one? Just so I don't even know. Like we should have talked about this before, but this is what we do. We talk about stuff live. I mean, people all the time ask me questions like, "Watch our podcast." We'll tell you.
Well, I'll say this: they've probably been more in the last couple of years versus the early couple of years, like 2020s and stuff like that. Were heavily cash flow oriented.
Yeah,
and so
which one in specific are you talking about? Which one are you thinking about that we were going to get chunky money back that we haven't yet?
Well, I would say one of our multifamily funds is more focused on equity than on cash flow. And we've not seen the chunks and we've not seen much of cash flow. And so actually didn't work out for either of us, it sounds like. But
right. Well, I mean, and by the way, again, operating in an environment where I would say multifamily as a whole has not been a success in the last 3 to 5 years, right? Because that marketplace changed significantly, the amount of money that went into it. We heard from Kim McElroy, though, recently. He believes that market is primed for another run because he believes the new builds have still not kept up with the demand. So there is a huge opportunity for quote unquote affordable housing, which, whether that's mobile home parks or whether that's apartment buildings, is going to be an opportunity for there to be growth. And if people have not been building, it's got to go somewhere. So prices have to eventually adjust. We'll see, right? I mean, people have to make more money in order to pay more money. And we haven't seen incomes increase. I think that's an issue that exists there. But there's still deals out there that we passed on in the past because we didn't see monthly passive income. And I'm saying today, I wish I could go back and made a few adjustments. Here's the key argument I would have with us, or I have for this, is what makes a deal work? What do we always say? There's 3 keys to real estate: location. When you're investing in opportunities, what's the 3 keys?
Operator.
Correct. Seasoned operator. People who have done it over and over for a long period of time demand a premium or do things at discounts.
No, they're always going to take a premium because they don't need your money.
They don't need your money, right? And when your money is available and people are asking for it, you need to ask, why are they coming to me? Like, figure out where the smart money is. Did they pass on this deal? Is there a good opportunity for me to be in? A lot of times we don't get to work with the seasoned operators because, one, we're flaky. Like they present us a deal and we pass on it. They present us another deal, we pass on it. They're like, I don't need you anymore. You're a hassle.
Yeah.
But the more seasoned the operator is, do they see opportunity in being able to reinvest? Or do they think they need to constantly pay you monthly cash flow to keep you into the next deal?
Yeah, they're trying to build confidence.
The seasoned operator doesn't have to pay you monthly. So my point would be is that more of the deals you get in that have constant monthly cash flow, either A, less seasoned operators, or B, they are seeing this as an opportunity to get a bigger chunk on the back end, because where are they getting their money? Monthly cash flow or back end, usually waterfall?
The waterfall.
Yeah, the equity waterfall on the back end. So if they provide you a pref on the front end, you better believe that they see a big chunk coming on the back end. We know so many different operators, sponsors, people who are run GPs and deals. We see the wealth that they are building. It is not off monthly passive income, right? It is operating big chunky deals over time, building up these projects and flipping them. And so what I would say is that sometimes you also have to find where the good and smart money is and invest alongside of them in addition to your goals. Now, if you're just trying to get out of your 9-to-5, Joey, that was your first point. I don't want it to be Sunday. I want to be a tomorrow. Take your money, find opportunities that you can do diligence in, create the cash flow, exceed your monthly expenses, tell your boss peace and move on. I agree with that 100%.
Which, by the way, as you're saying that, if you don't know how to even do that, you have an opportunity, right? Our passive income lab will tell you exactly, they'll equip you. In 12 weeks or less, you get your first $500 a month in passive income, or we keep working with you until you do. You have to qualify. You have to go to choosepassiveincome.com to get access to this program. We are starting a new one soon, but I'm just telling you, if you don't know where to start, this is where to start. Okay. But here's the thing, Russ, I know we're out of time, but I want to quote the great theologian TLC here. Okay. You just brought it up. Don't go chasing waterfalls. Okay. Please stick to the rivers and the lakes that you're used to. Create cash flow today and lower your risk. Give yourself the ability to reinvest. Give yourself confidence and momentum as a new investor to get out of your 9-to-5. That's my final thoughts.
Oh my goodness. So good. How can you argue with Beyonce and the girls? I mean, I believe as you season, there's opportunity and you get to make choices. And if you don't know your options, it's because you don't have them. And I'm only talking about options. I don't believe that this is for everybody. I think, as Joey said, you need to understand your investor DNA. If you don't know how to invest, investments will not change your lack of investment skill, right? And the more reps you get, the better you'll get. The more you understand before you do it, the less time you'll chase shiny objects. So follow Joey's advice there. Thank you so much for letting us ramble. Stallion, good debate. We'll agree to disagree who won it, and we'll come back for square up another time. I hope you guys have an amazing day.
This has been the Wealth Without Wall Street podcast. Don't forget to subscribe to the show to break free of the Wall Street mindset and begin building wealth on your own terms in places you understand so that your wealth will never run dry. See you next episode.